Hey JAG students, Region 8 JAG Coordinator Derek Morgan once again out in the real world. Today I'm in Jasper, Indiana with Sean Brames once again to learn more about the Jasper campus. So let's join him and find out more of what this campus has to offer for you.
Hello everybody, Mr. B here with the second part of our tour of Vincennes University campuses as part of Real World with Derek series. Today we are at our Vincennes University Jasper campus. Sometimes a real hidden gem that we have as part of the Vincennes University family. Well, hidden no more. We are going to reveal everything there is to know about this wonderful, excellent educational opportunity here in the heart of Du Bois County, Indiana. So I'm going to give you a little geographic background. Jasper is 1 hour and 4 minutes southeast of our Vincennes campus, so not too much distance between them on State Highway 61 separates them. Our campus here is nestled very nicely back in the woods. You wouldn't even know it was here if you made a purpose stop to come see it. So we are very close to US Highway 231 as well. So we're gonna shed some light on this campus today. We're gonna learn a little bit more about the admissions process here at the Vincennes University Jasper campus. We're also going to learn more about the awesome business department that is offered here. But probably the coolest thing we have for you is a tour of the virtual hospital here on campus, as well as the virtual ambulance and body parts drawer. And a real treat, Mr. B here is going to touch a scientific specimen during our presentation. So come with us, and hope you'll enjoy your tour of the Vincennes University Jasper campus. And special thanks to Mr. Derek Morgan for filming this and getting these out to all of you JAG students.
On the first half of our tour, we are going to meet with the Dean of the Vincennes University Jasper campus.
My name is Christian Blome, and I'm the Dean here at the Vincennes University Jasper campus. My responsibilities are really the day-to-day management of the campus, both there's academic and student services and facilities, and just all the many pieces and components to run the campus. I'm responsible for that general oversight. About 500 students here this fall, a little over 500. We've got 5 buildings. 140-acre campus. So while we only have 5 buildings, the campus is quite significant in its footprint, with rolling hills, forestry, and an educational farm as well, which is a partnership that we have with the Du Bois County Soil Water Conservation District, which created the Land Stewardship Initiative. Really proud of that partnership too. So as you come in, there's 2 entrances to campus, and most of the buildings are kind of here in the center, surrounded by parking. I think it's very easy to come into campus, park, and get to buildings and classes quickly. But then, boy, while you're here, you've just got a beautiful view. So we're proud of the campus. That's a great question, one that I've posed back to our current student body. And the top 2, there's many things that they tell us they love about VUJ, but the top 2 reasons that they tell us is, 1, our location. So the students that come here, they come here because it's in close proximity to their home. They can get here quickly, efficiently, they can get through their classes and then go on about their day and their lives. But the other part is our affordability. So our students really value an affordable education, and one that is not going, there's a national conversation happening about college debt, and to the students that attend VUJ, they're really thinking intentionally about their future, not only their education future, but their financial future. And they want something that's going to have a good return on their investment. And so those are the top 2 reasons that they tell us. Other things that I think are special about VUJ compared to some of our competitors or even other colleges across the state of Indiana, where I think we're really innovative, is in our schedule. So all of our classes are delivered in what's called a block schedule, which means that for 95% of our courses, students come to class one time a week for an in-person meeting that is just under 3 hours per session. And so what students will do is a lot of times they'll stack those blocks up into 2 days a week. They'll attend college full time, but they'll then have 5 days a week outside of that they can do many other things. Most all of our students work at least part-time. Some of them work full-time jobs, but then many of them are also caretakers, whether it's their parents or grandparents, or maybe they have dependents. But our students are givers, and you see that in the things they're involved in their life. And because they give so much back in their communities, you see where schedule becomes really important to them. And I think that is that's something special about VUJ, very unique to VUJ, and a reason why students come here. Our small class size, of course, our average class size is about 13 to 14 students. So you're going to get really to know your instructors. There's like a level of intimacy there where they're known by name. The teacher knows their strengths and the opportunities for them to grow, and they're able to really walk them through that learning experience. We also have what I call wraparound services here that are based out of our library. We call it ACE, the Academic Center for Excellence. And so what we've done is we've taken the traditional model of a library, and we've combined it with everything that students need to be successful in the classroom. Whether that be, the main component to that is tutoring, both peer and professional tutoring, one-on-one. That's all free of charge to our students. But then there's also study rooms in there, quiet study rooms. There's also accommodations available in there that you can get assistance with test taking in there. There's just a variety of services that are all to help students be successful in the classroom. What I tell students at the start of the semester is, you have to work to not be successful at VUJ. You'd have to purposely work to try to not make it here, just because there's really a culture here where everyone is cheering the student along and doing whatever they can, whether that's that instructor or the tutor and ACE, or even our counselors and student services and financial aid. They're proactive. If they see something that's not quite right with your financial aid, they'll reach out to you and make you aware of it and walk you through those next steps, especially for people who have no background in financial aid at all, and a lot of these terms seem foreign sometimes. I'm proud that we've got people along every step of the way to cheer our students along. There's definitely a sense of community here that I think it comes out of that, again, that commitment by our faculty and staff to make sure every student graduates and accomplishes their goals, their higher education goals, and all those steps that need to be in place for that student. There's naturally a relationship is built, and so our students create a real sense of connection and belonging here that I think research shows that the more that college students have that sense of belonging, it really impacts your ability to not only complete your degree, but to complete it on time.
On the next stop of our tour, we are going to meet with an admissions counselor to find out what it takes to get into Vincennes University Jasper and about the programs they offer at this campus.
Hi, I'm Lisa Whitty. I am an admissions counselor here at VU Jasper. I can tell you a little bit how to apply online. For students, just apply online. Go to the Vincennes University website. There's Apply Now tabs everywhere on there. You can just click on those. You can choose a major. In order to apply, if you don't know a major, you can select general studies. You can also choose a program, either a degree or a certification. Certification is a 1-year program, a degree is a 2-year program. And then your next step is to send in your high school transcripts. Just go to your high school website, select request a transcript, and have that sent directly over to us. There is no application fee at this time, so very simple process. Another step is testing. If you've taken the SAT or ACT, those scores will be submitted on your high school transcript. That's an entry into the university. Or if you have not taken either one of those, you can take our AccuPlacer test. That test is a little bit less intensive. It is for placement purposes only in English and in math. There's no cost for the test here. You take it on our campus. You can take it up to 3 times. And again, it's just to place you in the right English and the right math class you're ready for. So it's nothing to be overwhelmed over. If you have dual credit, if a student has dual credit from high school, they just need to send those transcripts over after they graduate. That will get them out of placement testing. So dual credit is definitely a positive if a student does have that. We do offer many programs here. We offer several transfer programs. We have an ag program and an engineering program. Those are lined out where you take your first 2 years at Vincennes and then you can transfer to Purdue and then end up with a 4-year degree with Purdue. We do offer a couple of internships, electronics technology, which is the CAP program. We also offer business internships as well. So that's kind of a work-learn program, which a lot of students really like, that hands-on type of program. Our campus is on block scheduling, which is a little bit different than other campuses. Block scheduling is your class meets 1 day a week for the 16-week semester. So the class is like 2 hours and 45 minutes. That is lined up that way because all our students are commuting. You can stack your classes on 2 or 3 days a week and only commute those days. So morning class, 9 to noon, afternoon, 1 to 4, and then a typical evening class. So other than that, we're here for campus tours. We can give students a tour. You can sit in on a class. We're here to help. You just have to reach out to us. You can call the admissions office or email me directly and I'll be glad to help you out.
So the typical Vincennes University Jasper student, I'm guessing, is a student who's working and going to school. They're trying to do both.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
And it works real well with the block scheduling because, like I said, you can be a full-time student, take 4 classes on 2 days a week, and you have the other days to work.
And they're 2-year programs.
2-year degree programs or
programs.
associates, yes. And then you can transfer on to a 4-year institution, or you can go direct to the workforce with your 2-year associate's degree.
And so, what's the number one degree that people are? What's the big degree or the most students are enrolled in here?
Most common is probably nursing. Nursing is a very hot major right now. We have a lot of students in business as well, and then in our CAP program, which is the electronics technology. A lot of our students like the CAP program because it's you work 2 days a week in a internship and then you go to class 3 days a week. So a lot of students like that hands-on and generally, their foot's in the door already after they do graduate. So definitely a perk.
So what's the job placement like for students through this program or through a lot of the programs?
Through a lot of programs, it's a lot of networking. Like I said, you have your foot in the door with the internship. You kind of learn what it's like to work at that workplace, and you may decide this is not for me. Well, at least you've known before you've gotten your degree and trying to attain a position. We're affordable. We're close to home. That's the main drive. They can get their general education courses here, get a 2-year transfer, and then transfer on to a bigger institution. A lot of it's cost. You get a good education at a lower cost living at home. Class size is 20 students or less. The instructor gets to know you and you get to know the instructor. So skipping classes is probably not a great idea because the instructor does know and knows your name, not just a number. So I like to tell students too, a high school diploma is great, but if you just keep adding more education, just more doors will open, more opportunity will come to you.
Now that we've learned what it takes to get into Vincennes University Jasper, let's head on over to the business department and learn more about their degrees and programs.
Well, hi, my name is Angie Allen, and I am the department chair for our Business, Information Technology, and Public Service departments here at Vincennes University Jasper. So I oversee all the programs. I work very close with our Vincennes campus to make sure that everything's in line, and we try to be as close in curriculum as we can and utilize the same curriculum so the students are getting the same content, just different teaching methods throughout the classes and the courses. So let's talk a little bit about business administration. So on the business side, we have business administration and we have business management associate degrees. The business administration degree is set up as a transfer program. So it will allow students to come here, take their 2 years of courses, and then transfer to a university within the state of Indiana through an articulation agreement. Our business administration program is set up with basically a broad variety of business classes, so students can actually go into, to a certain degree, any field within business. So whether we're talking accounting, or we're talking, you know, a little bit of foundations in marketing, just basic business information. So they are getting those skills and those concepts that will benefit them to move on to a 4-year degree if that's what they choose to do. Our business management degree is more of a career and technical. So it's setting you up for a sales, a marketing, some entrepreneurship, small business, things that you would do individually on your own to be able to go out. Under the business management degree, we have a finance concentration, and the finance concentration is setting you up to go out and work in the field of finance. So whether we're talking mortgage companies, banking, real estate, insurance, things along that line. So you're getting a little bit of those courses and that knowledge and concepts to go along with it. So those are our 2 main business programs that we offer. We are looking to bring in potentially a marketing concentration, which we have heard that there's a need for it. We have several people that are looking for marketing, individuals with a marketing degree. So we're looking to bring that in, but that's probably going to be out a year, year and a half before it actually is finalized and in place. We really have a combination. Most of our students now coming in are students that are fresh out of high school. So they're wanting to stay local, you know, they're getting some local jobs, or they are already working and they don't want to go stay on campus. They want to commute from home. So that's what most of our students are doing. We do have those students that are older that are coming back to get some more skills, you know, to maybe change where they're at in the workplace, or maybe they have been stay-at-home parents for a period of time and their kids are now growing and they're looking to gain some skills to go back into the workplace. But for the most part, all of our students are, what we have coming in are those that are fresh out of high school, you know, looking to do courses here to stay local and to work a job. I think there are several things. One of the big things I think is that the students get to stay local. And I think the cost part of it is a huge play too, because, you know, we're cheaper than a lot of the other universities. So that cost factor, the students aren't having to pay for housing, you know, they're not having to pay for a meal plan. They're able to come on campus. Most of our classes are a block format, so they meet 1 day a week. They get the material that they need. They work on their assignments for the most part outside of class. They're able to hold a full-time job, some of them are, or, you know, at least a part-time job, and still complete their assignments, you know, and do well in the classroom. So time and a cost factor. Well, let's start with transferring. Generally speaking, as I'm advising students, one of my first question is, you know, if it's a new student coming in, what are your plans? What are your goals? Are you looking to just finish the 2-year degree and be done? Are you looking to move on? And generally, I try to set the student up, even if they tell me that they're just looking for a 2-year degree, that they will be able to transfer and move on to a 4-year degree with whatever those courses may be, because you never know where life's going to take you, quite honestly. You know, you might think you're done with a 2-year degree. Lo and behold, give yourself another 5 or 10 years and you may be going back. So that's one thing that we try to do there. We do offer a BIT program, so lowercase b, uppercase IT, BIT, and that is our business and internship program. So what we have just started, it was a pilot last year, full rollout this year, is we're giving students the opportunity for internships to work locally for business and industry, and they're paid internships. So there's requirements that go along with that. You know, they need to be a full-time student. They need to either have already had an English Composition 1, speech and a math, or they need to be enrolled in those classes, so we can make sure that the students are getting those communication skills and writing skills that they need, and the math skills, before going out. So that is a huge thing that we've just started on. And we have several individuals, several employers, I should say, businesses that are working with us for those internships. In the pilot program, we had 4 students that were piloted. 3 of them were hired on full time. So that's a 75%, rate. So that's pretty good for the internship program. But that's what we're hoping to do, is to give those students the skills that they need and some knowledge and some hands-on experience working with business and industry that they can relate to what they're learning in the classroom. And then from there, for those employers to keep them as a full-time employee.
Now let's take a look around at some of the cool scientific models Vincennes University Jasper students utilize during their anatomy classes. The campus even has a real-life human cadaver that has been preserved using a process called plastination. This cadaver helps students see the inner workings of the human body in great detail. Let's not get too far ahead of the others on our tour of campus and head on over to the nursing program to get a tour of the virtual hospital from lab assistant Sarah Petrie.
So this is what we call our virtual hospital, and then in this first bed is what we have our mannequins is what we call them. Some people like to refer to them as dummies, but we don't do that here because nobody's a dummy. And these guys actually do come to life. They get to practice IVs, vital signs. They get to do oxygenation, catheters, enemas, injections, colostomy bags, and then they do get fluid returns. So everything is simulated, which means it's fake. So but we do try to make it as real life as possible. And then in the second bed is our OB scenario station. So that's Noelle, and she does deliver. You can see her belly. She's kind of pregnant now. And then we do have a lot of different babies that we add to the situations and scenarios that portray real life events. So whenever they're turned on, they do breathe, and you can do their heart, lung, and bowel sounds. When they go to the bathroom, we usually have diapers on the babies so it doesn't make a mess. And then they get to practice for I&O as well, so when they're measuring everything. And then in the back over towards there is what we call our pediatric area. So we have a toddler that's based on a 3 to a 9-month-old, and then we have a kiddo that's an aged 5 to a 9-year-old. And they do the same things with the heart, lung, bowel sounds, vital signs. If you see the monitors on the walls, those are they give a reading out just like at the hospital of the vitals and things like that. And so whenever the students are in here, they always have to be in uniform because we treat it just like a clinical when they're out on their sites and things like that. So they get used to practicing that professionality of coming in with their uniform on, their hair's got to be back, different kinds of things like that. And then we have all kinds of like the HIPAA laws, and we reuse scenarios quite a bit. So we always want to make sure the confidentiality stays here. So nothing gets, transferred out into different other schools and things like that. So we keep our scenarios contained here. There's like 9 different classes, and they all get to come in and utilize the different equipment for what they're needing. So if we're going to be doing like, say a 5-year-old fell off his bike and hurt his knee or his arm or something, then that's what my job would be, is to get him set up and ready, and then give the information to the students. So then when they come in, then they know how to treat them, calling a doctor and getting orders and medications and things like that. When we start in August, by the second week they're already in here, as well as in a classroom with their lecture, as well as getting prepped and ready for the clinicals. So you could have a set of 10 students where the one day they would be in here, and then the next day they would be in a classroom with bookwork, and then the next day they would be on clinicals. This here is what we call our SimMan 3G, and he is made by a company called Lærdal. They're from Norway, actually, and they produce all of our mannequins we have here. And these guys are really special, and they're what we call our high fidelity mannequins, because as you can see, he blinks and he's breathing. We can alter their heart and lung and bowel sounds. So if you have someone that comes in and they have asthma and they're going to have their wheezing or rhonchi, stridor, we can change all those different lung sounds. We can change his pupil sizes. So like when we cover with the light, you can see the pupils will react, they'll dilate. We do head injury scenarios, so both pupils will be pinpoint. So that gives them an indication that something's going on in the brain, like a brain injury. And then he has this other feature where, like we do a bee sting scenario, and he goes into shock. So all of his throat and everything will start swelling, and his mouth will clench closed. So they have a lot of different features that we utilize with these guys. We can do CPR if they do a code, if we do a code blue and their heart stops. So it actually measures the depth, the rate, and the rhythm. So it checks placement as well. So if you're doing CPR way down here, alarms and things will start going off until you find the right proper spot. They do have where you can do catheters and get a return as well. So if he has like a kidney stone, or if he has some kind of infection or something and the doctor orders a catheter, then they would go ahead and proceed with the skill of inserting it. And some students ask like why we all have males, but we actually have wigs and parts and pieces that we can put on them to make them into a female. We have jewelry, and we add different things to make them for the scenario of what the purpose of that scenario will be. Sometimes when we do, like we do at a motorcycle accident, and we had fake tattoos and things, and it was really fun to do. So you can alter these guys however you want. We're getting ready to go on to our shutdown, so right now they're all cleaned up and ready to be, stored away for a little bit. But whenever it's time, then we get to play and dress them up, put makeup on them to make it look realistic. They have different wounds that actually pulse out the blood if it's like an artery that's been severed and things like that. So it makes it more realistic when you're coming onto a scene and you got someone bleeding out. You got to hurry up and put the pressure and tourniquets and things like that to try to save them. And they do speak in 4 different languages. They speak in English, German, French, and Spanish. So we do an interpreter scenario where they would actually go and call for someone to come in and verbalize with their patient of what their issues are, if they have a lot of pain, or what's going on with them and why they came into the doctor or the hospital or wherever they're at. And then we have on these boards, you'll see we have oxygen and suction, and those all are working. Everything works. So if they're having issues with managing the O2 and making sure it stays above 90, they'll go ahead and hook up the oxygen, start it on their mannequin and simulator. And then the mannequins are really high tech, so they can feel what's coming into them. So if it doesn't feel like it's getting enough oxygen, it won't get better. So then they would have to increase the meter of what they're giving. He does have little blue lights in here as well. So if his O2 drops below 90, he'll start turning blue to replicate this cyanosis. So, and then when we do that, we usually put a little bit of blue on their fingernails and toenails as well, just to intensify the effect of it a little bit. And then he does have speakers on his ears. So whenever we're sitting behind the glass and things like that, we can hear what the students are saying to their patient. Sometimes you get them and they want to whisper real quiet, but that way we can hear it behind our Wizard of Oz curtain, so to speak. So that's a nice feature too that they have. So then in here, this is what we call our control room. This is kind of like our Wizard of Oz behind the scenes area. As you can see, we have computers that power the mannequins that has all their programming, all their scenarios on it. So that way, whenever the instructor wants to do, say, a heart attack, she'll come in and say the name, and then I'll get everything ready and plug it in, and that's what we would do. When we do scenarios, we usually have the students sit back here, and then we have the ones that are participating. And then these black boxes you see are our cameras, and then every scenario is usually videoed, and they get to watch it on a laptop back here. or if they want to live feed it into a classroom for when they go into debriefing. So debriefing is like the main part of the scenario. That's where they learned how they could make it better, everything that went well in their scenario and things like that. So this here is an intricate part of it as well. This is kind of where the magic happens. So I hope you've enjoyed your visit to the virtual hospital, and we look forward to seeing you. Okay, so this is like the second part of our tour that we would normally do. This is what we call our basic skills lab. So what we do in here is the students get to practice on these mannequins. These are what we call low fidelity mannequins, where they're basically just task trainers. As you can see, all the equipment's out. They're learning enemas and NG tubes and different kinds of trach clean and care skills on these mannequins today. You can see like the IV therapy, they do that. On the walls is the oxygen suction as well. Everybody has their own individual area when we're in here. Usually there's never more than 10 students at a time, because some students ask why we have so many mannequins, but we always want 2 people on a person. That way you don't have 10 on one trying to do their skills. So everybody gets their hands on, everybody gets to practice. Whenever they're in here, they also get their nursing bag, and it has everything in there for their first 18 weeks. So all of their wound care kits, IVs, IV lines, all their supplies they need are going to be in their bag. And then when they come in, they can sit at the table, and then they lecture a little bit as well in here, and then they get to practice the skills on the mannequins. These guys are built a little bit more rugged and durable, because when we do IVs, they're getting IVs 50 and 60 times a week. So their skin has to be a little bit more durable for all of that. We recently just got new beds and new bedside tables and new cabinets, so we're always looking for ways to increase what we have and make it better. And then we're in the process of purchasing some new mannequins. So eventually when these guys wear out, then we will have new ones to fill their spot, because everything is always improving and there's always newer mannequins on the market. So we always try to keep up with the times. And then as we kind of go around this way, this is where they're doing wound care and dressing changes, staple removal and stitches removal. And then over here is our mock nurses station, where they get to practice different kinds of things on the computer for like charting, doing MERs. Sorry, can't even think today. So all of their documentation and everything would be on the computers that are back there, and then we have the med carts and a lot of other equipment that they can use as well. And then we have IV arms. So whenever we get into doing IVs and fluids and things like that, then we get to pull out all the extra parts that we have in a closet. Everything comes out, so everybody gets their own. So it makes it nice. And it's a lot of one-on-one with your instructor, so you never have to feel like you're doing school by yourself. And one of our sayings is, when you all succeed, then we succeed. So it gives us great pleasure seeing our students do well and learning, and we always offer a lot of hands-on, just because it's research-based. That hands-on, you retain it a little bit more whenever you're doing certain skills. Okay, so this here is what we call our virtual ambulance, and you can see this is our trauma man, and he has a lot of interchangeable parts that we utilize with him for different situations. Being in southern Indiana, we use a lot of farming, where it's like a crushing injury. When we do scenarios like that, we usually use a lot of bubble wrap just to replicate like the bones whenever there's breakage and things like that. And so this is basically the back of an ambulance. And then our students get to practice the mechanics of moving the stretcher out, moving your patient in, doing the treatments while you're working in an ambulance. Everything in here works, like the suction, the oxygen. They just got finished working in here this morning, so that's why it's kind of messy a little bit. But They use a lot of different equipment whenever they're in here for different situations and scenarios. We have done scenarios where it would be like Jasper Engines manufacturing, where steel would be like piercing the skin and jutting out and things like that. So any kind of emergency situation, this is where that would take place. VUJ offers an EMT program as well. I think it's a 6-month course, and then they utilize this space as well as our HOSA students whenever they're here from the high schools. So that's kind of the gist of our virtual ambulance.
Before our next stop on the tour, Mr. Brames and I stopped by the student lounge for a quick game of air hockey. Next up, we are heading over to the Center for Technology, Innovation, and Manufacturing to learn about their various programs.
My name is Jacob Berg, and I'm the director of the CTIM. That's the Center for Technology, Innovation, and Manufacturing. And really the director for any of the programs that are housed here at the CTIM building. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the CAP program. The CAP program is a 2-year program for college students. They'll earn an associate's degree in technical maintenance. There's a big need, as you know, a big need for maintenance techs here locally and regionally, and really throughout our country. There's just not enough people who understand how robotics and automation work, and have the skills to install, troubleshoot, automated equipment. So the CAP program develops student skills in welding, in drafting, 3D printing, in electronics and robotics, in PLC, which is really programming behind controls, or the controls behind automation, I should say. CAP students actually take a HVAC and plumbing class. Of course, they take an introduction to advanced manufacturing class, really diverse curriculum. But the coolest thing about the CAP program is that it's a work-learn format. So students will spend 2 to 3 days per week here at the VU Jasper campus. All of their technical classes are here at the CTIM building. And 2 to 3 days per week at an internship. We actually have 32 students in the CAP program right now. 29 students are working in internship with one of 12 different industry partners. And these are big manufacturers, big companies. Jasper Engines, Master Brand Cabinets. Master Brand Cabinets is the #1 cabinet manufacturer in North America. Kimball International, Kimball Electronics, Indiana Furniture, and the list goes on. We reach out as far as Tell City. We're partnered with Wapaka and ATTC down there, and Olon up in Washington. So just really proud of the partnerships that we've created here at the Jasper campus. So the internship is really kind of like a 2-year interview. 95% of our students, will earn that associate's degree in technical maintenance within that 2-year period while having worked in an internship. And ideally, if they've done a good job and the company wants to hire them, they're going to make them a full-time offer. And maintenance techs right now in our local area are doing really well, anywhere from $18 an hour hired full-time all the way up to $24 an hour. So that translates to somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 a year for a 2-year degree. Another great advantage of the CAP program that I should mention is that of course they're working that internship and earning money. That money they'll actually earn more as part of that internship than they're going to pay into the program. So locally, most of our insurance start out around $14 an hour, which for a 19-year-old is pretty good money. That's a good question. So we're attracting students. We want to attract students that are interested in hands-on learning. Students that like to take things apart, put things back together, students that like to troubleshoot. And it's not always easy. You know, it's not a job. Technical maintenance isn't a simple job. It's highly skilled. It takes knowledge. You know, some of these classes that I mentioned in electronics and robotics, and to be able to troubleshoot automated equipment is again, it's highly skilled. So we're looking for folks who want to work hard, students who are hands-on, who you know, will thrive in a career that is a little bit different every day, and again, it's challenging. It requires them to troubleshoot. Probably not spend a whole lot of time at a desk or behind the computer. Instead, you know, maintenance techs are, you know, their every day looks a little different, and it's, you know, this machine breaks today. That's my project until I get it fixed. If this conveyor goes down, you know, I'm going to troubleshoot and figure out what I need to do to get it running again. So it's really exciting. You know, it's for the hands-on type learner. That's a good question. So, you know, speaking more broadly, one of the advantages of coming to the Jasper campus is that we're a small campus, and that you know, I don't know all of our students, but I do know most of our students who are in this building, in the C10 building. Classes are smaller, you know, generally anywhere from 10 students to 20 students. You know, and our instructors are vested in not just the Jasper campus and Vincennes University and the Jasper campus, but also in our local community, and I think there's some strength in that. There's a lot of relationships here among staff and students that have developed over a long period of time. So it's, you know, I'm not going to say we're one big family, but we kind of are. You know, there's just a lot of relationships that extend beyond the campus experience. CAP classes are generally 10 students to 18 students. That's where we're at right now with the CAP at 20 students. So that's a huge advantage compared to some of your larger universities where you might stick, you know, 40 kids into a hands-on technical class or 100 kids into a math class. And by the way, our Gen Ed classes are small as well. You know, generally we cap them at 20 students. So you're not taking a math class in an auditorium with, you know, 200 students, but in a small classroom with 20 students where the instructor knows each student's name. So there's an advantage there. You know, I think another advantage of the CAP program is, again, going back to the just the community partnership and the feeling of community. When you're as a student attending the Jasper campus and then you know, and you're vested in this campus and your career path, and then working in internship with a local company, now you're vested in the community, and I think there's strength in that as well. We have a variety of different internships, partner companies. I mean, you know, as I mentioned earlier, everyone from, you know, Jasper Engines, who manufactures and transmissions, you know, and engines, all the way to Best Home Furnishings, who you know, makes couches for living rooms. So just a wide variety of different manufacturers and partnerships. So one of the projects I'd like to talk about that the CAP students work on is a CNC project where they actually design and then manufacture cornhole boards. We started the design process at the computer lab where they use a software called Woodwop. And they design, given a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of plywood, they design all the components that make up a cornhole board, you know, including the sides, the legs that are actually missing from this one, and bring it down here to the control software, and that communicates with the CNC machine. And what a CNC machine is, by the way, is just like a giant drill. So if you're going to drill a hole and then use that same drill bit to actually cut pieces out, that's what the CNC machine does. It does it all automatically. It's all CAD driven. So the CAD program is created upstairs in the computer lab, and then communicates with the CNC machine to make the cuts. They take the parts that are cut out, assemble the cornhole board, and then we take it to our laser engraver, and they use students learn how to use Corral software. They'll take an image, any image from the internet, and convert it to a bitmap format, and then convert that to a control software that allows them to laser engrave the image, like the Vincennes University image you see here. So pretty cool project. Our students really enjoy this. A lot of them will lacquer up their boards and buy some cornhole, some bags on Amazon. And last year we had a cookout, grill out in the back side of the building here, and played cornhole.
And so what are some of the practical uses of learning the CNC technology?
That's a great question. So locally, we have a lot of furniture manufacturers, especially here in the Du Bois County area, and they actually use this same model of CNC machine. So this is a Wiki CNC machine. It's a German-made CNC machine, and it's a smaller version of what you would see at a Kimball International or Indiana Furniture. Another big component of the CNC class is learning how to maintain a CNC machine like this. Not just how to run it, but also the different components, a lot of the PMs that need to be done. PM stands for preventative maintenance. So in order to keep this thing running like they do in industry, often 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's a lot of preventative maintenance type things that need to be done. So our CAP students go through several weeks of learning how to do those PMs on a machine like this. So CAP students will take a class called the Capstone class in their final semester as part of the program. And Capstone typically refers to a class that is going to incorporate everything that they've learned up until that point. So this is a robotic cell that, I apologize for the mess, but our Capstone students that will start in the spring have already actually, we've already actually put together the teams, and they've started the work a little bit early. So a robotic cell that mimics what you would see in industry. We have a conveyor where you would drop a product, and once that product, the sensor sees the product, the conveyor would start. It will go to the end of the conveyor. Another sensor would then stop the conveyor, which would trigger the robot to pick the object up. This table will become a pneumatics sortation table, where the object will bounce between a series of stations. The robot would then pick it up and drop it to the second conveyor, which will trigger that conveyor to start. It's really just a series of inputs and outputs. But in order to design this robotic cell, a student has to understand everything. That from electronics to fabrication, to robotics, to pneumatics, and so it's an excellent final project for our CAP students that resembles something that we all know we're going to see more and more of in manufacturing. Awesome. So this is our robotics lab. We have 6 Motoman robots and 2 brand new Yaskawa robots. We're actually going to pick up 5 ABB robots here in the next couple months and create a second lab. What you see here is a robotic arm, very similar to what you would see in industry with our manufacturers. Typically a stationary arm that onloads or offloads material. So CAP students will take a robotics class. It's actually called an industrial automation class, and they'll spend about 90% of their time in this lab. I actually have Jake Robinette here with me. Mr. Robinette is our primary CAP instructor, and he teaches this robotics class, and he knows way more than I do about what the students are going to learn in this class. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about that.
So I've heard several students say that this robotics class is probably the most enjoyable, the funnest course that you may take during the CAP program or in the ARA programs. We're going to learn about inputs, outputs of the Moto Man, what they can do with the photo eyes and switches and push buttons and all those good things. And we're going to dive into some history of robotics and what was the first robot. And then we learn a lot about the electrical components that you may see in the industry that kind of tie in with automation and in a manufacturing setting. A lot of it's going to be troubleshooting and operating. So when we train these students, we want them to be well-rounded maintenance technicians. So in order for that to happen, you need a good balance of the operation, you know, the flow of things, and then also your troubleshooting background. So whenever I assign projects, I give them a sheet, you know, of instructions, and they follow step by step what they need to do, but I don't give them all the information. When you're out in the plant and you're in the factory, you're going to have a lot of critical thinking on for yourself and some good problem solving skills. So what we do in this class is we kind of prepare them for that, you know, how to use your head and to look at a program and be like, oh man, this is going to take forever, but then it clicks and you can see that light bulb, and it only takes them 5 or 10 minutes. So you know, when you come in this class, you see the robots and you see, oh, they're going to learn how to operate this, but a lot of it too is the critical thinking that goes kind of along with what you're going to see being a maintenance tech in the industry.
And you know, Jake's actually in this class. He's teaching the class right now, and this year a couple of the robots have been giving him a hard time. One of them broke down, and so he's, which has been a great experience for his class as they troubleshoot. You know, try to troubleshoot how you know what the solution is to get it up and running again. So it's been, he's opened up the control panels and taken out boards and replaced boards and swapped different components. And used a multimeter to measure voltage at several areas within the control panel, and that's a great experience for his students, because after all, you know, that's what CAP students are going to be doing, you know, as part of their full-time career as maintenance techs.
Is it possible to see it work?
Yes. So right now I've got a main program that's going to operate 4 different types of programs. Or 3 other different types of program. My main program, it's going to pick and select where it's going to take the blocks either from here to here or from B to A. And then if it doesn't pick up a block, when it goes to this sensor, it's going to throw in a fault program. It's going to re-home out. You're going to see this light blink on and off, and then it can go back with the push of a push button, and it knows exactly, because we programmed it the correct way, it's going to know exactly where to go back to retry to pick up that block. So it picks up the block, takes it to the photo eye, and it knows to go back to place it in point B. And what the students are doing is they're programming each one of these steps on the teach spinet. And if it doesn't pick up a block, it'll notice it. It'll go back up to this. It's going to flash. It's going to wait for me to push my push button. Usually we have partners in here to help each other out. I got to adjust this. So just slightly off. So I also teach the hydraulics pneumatics course, and we have the amateur trainers to kind of help you get familiar with just the basics of your power fluids. And we use amateur trainer books to help you go step by step to learn all the different components of pneumatics. So your air compressor driven to the supply line that comes in to the trainer. And based on certain pressures on your regulators and your gauges, you can make cylinders move back and forth. We've even got a motor you can run on there and connect it to a muffler to help filter out noise from the excess air going through your systems. And on your hydraulic side of things,
We've got a big motor underneath the units, and it gets kind of messy, but it's a lot of fun. I hear a lot of students say that they like the hydraulics portion of it better because you're connecting and disconnecting hoses all the time, and there's a lot broader exercises that are a lot more different than a lot of the same things maybe for pneumatics, but a lot of people say they have a lot more fun with the hydraulic part, and that's probably kids wanting the messier things. So I also teach electronics and automation course, and there we're learning about circuit boards, AC versus DC, electricity, a lot of electrical wiring, and one of the labs we have is your basic house wiring, how to wire up a two-way switch, three-way switch, and how to wire up a light ballast. And those are the basic things that the manufacturers are telling us that, hey, we need to focus more on this area of things. And then we also do circuit boards. So people like Kimball Electronics, this is where this will come into play, where we're actually getting a circuit board, breadboards, and we're wiring up components like diodes, capacitors, transformers, resistors, LED lights, and push buttons. And a couple of the projects we have is an audio FM transmitter where you can talk into the circuit board and you can hear your voice out on an actual frequency wave over the radio. And then we also have a project where we build our own FM radio transmitter kits. So you see the actual circuit board and everything soldered in there. And then when it's all said and done, the last thing you do is put your antenna on it and you go outside and you've got a potentiometer, which is your volume control. And it picks up maybe 7 or 8 frequencies. So a lot of cool projects in that class. And you know, I hear a lot of kids say that was, you know, some of their favorite projects through the CAP program.
To round out our tour, we've got 2 more stops to make with Mr. Brames.
I'm standing in front of the Vincennes University Jasper bookstore, which is closed now, but we do have a bookstore here much similar to the old Post bookstore that we saw on the Vincennes campus. So this has textbooks, has school supplies, other things you might need, as well as some pretty cool apparel, just like the main campus bookstore does. I'm also today rocking this really sweet Vincennes University Jasper hoodie. I purchased this summer. I've got so many of them that just say Vincennes University on them. I have a collection of Vincennes University t-shirts. What I don't have are many that say Vincennes University Jasper. So back in July, I bought the combo pack of a hoodie and a t-shirt. So I've got a Vincennes University Jasper hoodie and a really sweet Vincennes University Jasper t-shirt, all in one nice, easy bundle. So it's definitely a place I like to visit, this bookstore. I encourage you to check it out. This is my most favorite place here on the Vincennes University Jasper, and that's the ACE Center, or the Academic Center for Excellence. This is a kind of a multifunction area here. It is not only your standard college library and computer lab, there is also academic remediation, as well as the Student Success Coordinator's office is here as well. So this is a place I encourage any Vincennes University Jasper student to come visit. It's my favorite place on campus, and you can usually find me here at least once a week. So it is excellent. I'd also like to thank all of you for joining me on our tour today. Got to meet some really great people and see some really interesting things, all the way from our virtual hospital to our interview with Dean Blome, as well as that great tour of the CTEM building. So learned a lot of great things today. I want to especially thank Mr. Morgan for his time that he took out of his day to come film us at our Jasper campus to show off this real gem we have here in Du Bois County. And I want to thank all of you JAG students for coming along with us as well. Thank you all.
I hope you have all enjoyed this fantastic tour of Vincennes University Jasper. A huge thank you to Mr. Brames and everyone on campus for taking their time to show us around. I'll catch you in the next installment of The Real World with Derek.